Hello?
Hey.
Ready?
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, she's right here.
Okay. Hi, Grandma. Abuelita. There really are no words to tell you what you've meant to me. There's so many years of just wonderful times with you. And I'm just so appreciative of you and your wisdom and love that you shared with me.
I love you so much, honey.
And I'm so grateful for the time we had.
So, when you called, I was in the shower. But your intention is what counts, honey. I know you're thinking of me, and I know you love me. And that's what's important. Thank you.
How do you sum up a life in a film? How can you possibly create a narrative out of someone's personal experiences? These are the questions I'm asking myself as I'm in the process of editing this very project, while being overwhelmed with the emotional, ambitious, and arduous task of documenting my family's history and painting a portrait of who my grandmother was.
Grandma, I decided that I am going to make a documentary of your life.
Of my life?
Yeah!
Oh,
In 2010, I was 18, had just graduated high school, and totally unsure of what I wanted to do. But I had a camera, and I knew that I wanted to record my grandma at any time I could, even though she absolutely hated it.
Sophia, please.
Why?
Take that thing off.
Why?
No, look at me.
You look fine.
No, I don't want you to do that.
Grandma, you're beautiful all the time.
Sophia, please. Put that thing away.
At this point, I knew a handful of things about my grandmother. I knew she was Cuban, that she immigrated from Cuba in 1967 due to Fidel Castro's implementation of communism in the country, and that she came with her husband, my grandfather, Aurelio Felix Barreto II, their son, Aurelio Felix Barreto III, and my mom, Sonia Barreto. I remember asking my grandma once, "Why did you and Grandpa name your kids after yourselves?" And she looked at me and answered, "Why not?" Growing up, I would hear many stories about Cuba. Because of this, it made me interested in learning more about it. My grandma would often talk about how beautiful it was, how it thrived economically and socially before Fidel Castro's violent takeover in 1959.
And 3 days later, the people that were against Castro, they were shot in parks, anywhere, shot in front of kids and old people. We just couldn't believe it in a matter of 3 days.
It wasn't until 1965 where Castro made a formal embrace toward communism. He changed the name of the government from the Party of the Cuban Socialist Revolution to the Communist Party of Cuba, or the PCC. The government now became a central role in all aspects of Cuban life. It sought to advocate for a classless, stateless society where property was now owned communally and resources were distributed based on need.
And if you hear about communism, it's wonderful. You get everything free, everything is guaranteed in education, but with everything free comes an attachment. And you're subjected. You don't have a choice, you don't have a say, you go where they tell you. People have no idea what it's like to live like that.
My mom came into the room and she said, "Pack up everything. We're moving to the United States." And I was like, "What?" I mean, I was 7 and I was like, why? Things are good. And she says, no, we're going to the land of opportunity.
My mom told me that there was many hours of waiting to come here, and there was a bus that we had to take, and I don't know where it was from, but she said that I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and I ended up peeing on her lap. So she just had to go through so much, and I'm thinking how awful that would be to have to sit like that with a little kid, being scared, not knowing what you're up against, because I know my dad was interrogated for many hours and we had to wait for him.
She said, well, your father has been in interrogations for over 8 hours. It's important that he says the right things, or they won't let us out, or maybe they will let the 3 of us out and not let your father come with us. It took 7 years of waiting to get our visas. That's how long the line of people were trying to get out of there.
And it was a very difficult choice for them to make, because they didn't know if they came what was going to happen. They didn't know if they stayed in Cuba what was going to happen.
The struggles I feel like my grandma went through that I don't have to is freedom. She had choices and then it got cut from her, and she fought for having the choices she was able to make throughout her life now. She carried that fear. She carried that hard, cold journey with Grandpa.
This project will take more time, more perspectives, more research and historical archives. But I'm eager to discover more and more about my family history, about Cuban history, and share that knowledge with the world.
I would blame myself if at least I don't try to have a voice.
My grandma's life is multifaceted. It's not a simple story that can be summed up in 9 minutes. Preserving her memory will take more than photos and mementos. I need to continue meeting the people whose lives she impacted and the history that she shared with them.
I've met a lot of wonderful, wonderful people here, and she was one of the special ones that I'll always remember.
She kind of just held my hand for a second, and she just said, promise me. I didn't get to hear the last part because she didn't really talk that much. But that's the last thing that I remember.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about all kinds of things. Life, her stories, my stories. She was a curious person.
Las personas no tienen ni idea lo que es un sistema comunista. Te quitan la libertad, te quitan tu casa, te quitan tu religión.
My memories of Cuba are leaving, going to Woolworth, as the Cubans would call it, el Tongson, the day before, and getting a pack of Lifesavers, orange. And I had it at the airport. When we left, both my sets of grandparents were there. It's actually the last time I actually saw them. And whenever I talked to her, it was like my mom was there. And I miss that.
My grandma left behind pieces of herself with everyone who knew her. She is deeply missed, was dearly loved, and I want to make this to honor her memory and to preserve the lasting impact that one life can have on another.